All right, guys, welcome to the Hungry for More podcast. My name is Matthew Seibert. Here with us today, we have a special guest, Ryan Reynolds. I would say the pioneer of telesales here at FFL. Ryan, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Such an honor to be on your call.
I'm excited for you to be on our call today. I know a lot of people are transitioning to telesales, and it's been a long time coming. I was like, we need to get Ryan Reynolds live in the mix with training today. Couple of things I want to talk about today. You know, obviously your background, how you got into telesales, and what you're doing today, and hopefully a lot of people, you guys are taking notes, get a lot of value today. I would say when I first came into the business at FFL, obviously I started out in the field. And I remember I watched you on a podcast. I learned about your schedule and how you're doing telesales. And I'm thinking, how the heck does he do that? And I'm just really excited to have you on today. And we're going to go through all the details and share all your juicy secrets with us today. So first thing I want to talk about, hey, Ryan, how long have you been in the industry?
It's about 11 years. I think I started in 2010. So 11, 12 years, something like that. It's kind of hard to keep track after it's been so long.
Right. And I know you were the practice company. How long have you been here in FFL?
FFL, a little over a year, just barely over a year.
I gotcha. Was it a complete difference as far as the practice company and this company, what we have to offer versus what you experienced over there?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I didn't have all the resources and training that all the agents have at FFL, plus obviously the comp. The atmosphere here is really here to support you. I mean, everyone's so positive. It has a really big team effort vibe to where any kind of knowledge or skills that we've gained, we try to share with as many people as possible, which is kind of unique. You know, a lot of other companies, it's like, they always want to keep it kind of hush hush. You know, they want to share all their secrets and stuff like that. But definitely glad I came over here. If your goal is to build a team, you know, build up an agency, which is a fourth, you know, avenue of revenue that you can build in the insurance, you know, industry, then I think FFL is really the best place for that because of the team oriented that we are, you know, all trying to help each other out.
Without a doubt. That's one of the things I noticed here. And we have so many people succeeding so many different ways here at FFL. And to be able to just reach out to people, ask for help. I've never had a door shut on me. Everybody's been welcoming and sharing with me their strategies and what they're doing to find success. So it's been an awesome culture shift for me as well, coming over from my practice company. So I know some people are very familiar with you. They've seen your podcast. I've always threw your name around at the office. But what is your record amount of families you helped in a month?
Record 60.
60. All right, guys, you guys need to make sure you take notes. 60 families help is no joke. And if you guys are excited to learn exactly how you help 60 families in a month, put a double R in the chat. Let's give Ryan some love. I'm excited. I want to know all the secrets, Ryan. Get ready to spill your beans. We're going to go through it right now. Now, let me ask you this. I know when you first came in, I think you probably started in the field. Is that right?
Yeah. I did field work for about 10 years. And then when I came to Family First Life, really wanted to crack the code on telesales. You know, I still think face-to-face is easier, you know, if you have leads. The reason why I wanted to crack the telesales thing was, you know, Arizona's market got so huge that, you know, because Grady did such a great job building an agency. I mean, obviously you're in Arizona now. I think we have in Arizona like 4 offices. And so I knew that in order to expand, we'd have to be able to buy leads anywhere and work from anywhere. And so that's kind of why I wanted to crack the code on telesales. I'll tell you, when I first started in telesales, it felt like I was starting in face-to-face again. Like I was rocky at first, but I really believe that in this business, it's all a mindset. So I think I was so nervous. I didn't really know anybody that was successful in telesales yet. So I was approaching it like it couldn't work. And I had that little bit of doubt in my voice when I was calling. But again, by taking action and through repetition, eventually I started gaining my confidence, not caring about the no's, and then the sales started to work. And that's the same with, you know, anything in this business. Is if you have doubt and you tell yourself that you can't do it, then the client's going to read that and you're not going to do it, right? Like, oh, I'm just going to get no's today. We're going to get some no's. And if you can change your mindset to, hey, this is proof that it can be done because Ryan's done it. And once it was put out there, now we have tons of people killing it at telesales, right? Because it's just, You got to look at the people that are proving it can be done, and then humble yourself to know that, okay, if he's doing it, I can do it. It's not like I'm getting bad luck with bad leads. I just need to keep practicing, taking action. Eventually it can't work because it's already been proven that it can't. Right.
And I mean, you had definitely the courage to be one of the first to do it. I could only imagine you leading the way. But like you said, spot on. I know you're one of the first to start it. And then I think, at least for me and a lot of other people, you increase the belief that, hey, it can be done. Obviously, you're doing it month in and month out. And I think that just really opened the door for a lot of people to just go full telesales. But what was like one of I know the leads in Arizona and stuff like that. Was there any other reason why you really wanted to transition more 100% telesales than out in the field?
I did love the driving. I mean, for a while it's kind of nice because I mean, when you're driving, you can listen to podcasts. Right. And so it's kind of like you're training and working while you're driving. So that part was kind of nice, but just kind of got, did it for 10 years, wanted to try something different, wanted to challenge myself and see if it was possible. It's definitely a different beast. I think I had to buy twice as many leads, to make up for the no-shows and the people on the phone that there's still like at least 10% of people I just can't close over the phone because they have trust factors and they think everyone's trying to scam them, even though this is like the most ridiculous scam ever. Like I'm going to learn all about insurance so I can get your bank account, which is on the bottom of a check and sent, been passed around for 50 years. And the banks think it's the most secure thing ever. A routing and account number that's handed out to complete strangers, but for some reason, and they're paranoid minds, they think that I'm here to scam them. Right. But there's just some people you can't get through to, which maybe on face-to-face I could have, right? So I think if you do have leads in your area and you can go face-to-face, I'd recommend maybe starting off that way. I think it's easier, and then you can kind of do a hybrid and then eventually transfer into it. But I mean, gas prices are so high right now. Plus, your car maintenance. At least you're not having that gas, on that. So it's like, split the difference. But the way I look at it is, if you spend, say, $1,000 on leads to go face to face, and let's say you make 11,000, well, that's a $10,000 profit, right? Or that'd be 1,000% ROI, return on your investment. And that's pretty much what I was getting out in the field. And then I had to look at it logically. Okay, well, if I spend $2,000 on leads now and I make 12,000, that's a $10,000 profit. Now it's only a 500% return on my investment, but I'm spending a little bit more money. You have to get extra leads for the luxury of not driving around, right? So at the end of the day, who cares what you spend? It's about what's your net profit, right? And now if I have to spend more for the luxury of staying home, then I'll spend some more, right?
Right. I mean, when we're talking about leads, do you feel like you can get 60 families a month spending $500 a week on leads?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, take what you want to make in a week and divide it by 5. And that's where you're going to be at when you are good. Now, if you're brand new, I would even maybe divide it by 2, or divide it by 2.5. Like it's going to take some practice and repetition before you can get your return on investment up to 500%. But I still think your return on investment is better out in the field. So, maybe try a little bit of both.
For sure. Absolutely. I mean, if we had like a couple hours to talk, I would go through all your word tracks and what you say and how to sell. But I think you do such a great job recording yourself on YouTube. So if anybody wants to know exactly what Ryan says, how he says it, you could find it on YouTube. Here, I really want to spend some time and just talking about for those people that have been out in the field, or maybe they're coming in fresh and they don't want to start out in the field, although it is going to be better, but maybe they want to take a stab at telesales. Would you agree there's probably a little bit some differences between in the field and trying to sell over the phone?
Yeah. On the phone, I've noticed that less is more. So, you're not sitting in a house and they can hang up on you. They can get bored. They don't listen as much because it's just your voice. So I think shorter and to the point is better. Brandon Kitchen says, and I agree with him, says it best. It's like whatever your face-to-face appointment is, your telesales approach should be kind of cut in half. And I think like the ones that I do really well at, I'm like on the phone and done and apps filled out and completed and off the phone in like a half hour. So it's kind of just more short and to the point. I mean, the basic breakdown of it is just, making sure they got a copy of your license, right? And going over that briefly, don't make that like a huge big deal. Just, hey, you got a copy of my license, right? Okay, great. Any concerns on that? Any questions? No, move right on. Because if you give anything too much breath, then they start to kind of get a little like it's kind of weird if you're giving a lot of breath, right? And then second thing, you're just finding the need, right? Just asking a lot of questions. Why'd you fill it out? You know, what would happen if you died tomorrow? That sort of thing. And then talking about that you're a shopper, you know, you're a broker. And then your job today is to get them approved first. You know, that's really the basics of every call. I do feel like sometimes, you know, we get a little caught up with like scripts and saying the right thing. And really that's like 10% of it. I feel like I do my best when I just freestyle. I'm not really thinking about too much of what to say. I just know that at some point in that conversation, I'm going to hit those key points, you know, find the need, tell them I'm a shopper, and getting rid of the think about it by going, hey, we're going to either put an application in today, see if we can get you approved, or we're going to close your file out because it doesn't make sense to think about something that you're not approved for yet, right? So as long as you're hitting those 3 points in your own way, I mean, that's really the call, you know?
Right. And what do you think, like, because I know I've had some agents that went from the field to telesales and they try to implement everything exactly the same as they do out in the field on telesales. What do you think? Do you feel like there's some strengths or something that you need to be stronger at on the phone as far as skills wise than you do out in the field that you need to pay a little bit more attention to?
You know, not really. I just feel like you have to be okay with some more no-shows, obviously, because, you know, if people forget and you're knocking on the door, you're like, I drove out here, let me in the house, right? But people do forget a lot more, obviously, when you're booking appointments on telesales or if you're doing a one-call close. The think about it, you know, that you get a lot more think about it, I think, because, you know, people feel guilty. You're like in the house. They don't want you to drive back. So you got to really tighten that up and be very clear in the beginning of what you're doing. Like today, we're putting an application and we're going to see if we get you approved. That's my job today. So you got to be very clear and make sure they understand that to avoid that think about it. Other than that, I think it's the same thing with anything. It's just with taking more action and practicing, you're going to get more comfortable. At first, you're going to be a little nervous. I didn't sell anything the first 2 weeks that I was trying to do telesales, and I was awesome out in the field, but I just had to kind of relax, get over my nerves, get my repetition, have confidence that I believed in what I was doing. And then it started showing up in my tonality and I started closing. But shorter is better, to the point. So, I mean, if you're doing a face-to-face and usually you're talking about maybe you're shopping, now you're a broker and it's a paragraph, try to see how you can condense that down to like one line so you can kind of move faster. You kind of want to have that approach that, you know, you're busy, you got a lot of people to go to. This is standard protocol. I'm calling you to get this information you asked for and get you a policy. And then I'm moving on to my next case because I don't have a lot of time to talk to you either. So I think that's key.
And I know I watched one of your YouTube videos and you're talking about tonality. Can you expand a little bit about that? Like, because I feel like tonality is so important on telesales because they can't see you. Obviously, we're not doing Zoom. We're doing over the phone. So how do you match the right tonality? How do you know like the proper tone? Like what's your process in going through that?
Yeah, the English language, it's kind of funny. Like it's a language that was invented, you know, I don't know how many thousands of years ago, but it really hasn't caught up with how we actually speak. So tonality is like the phrasing behind the words, right? And so there's a lot of different ways that we can speak to people. And what happens is if I'm calling you and my tonality or my perspective, I guess the best way to imagine it is like, really we're like actors, right? That's all we are, being actors. And if you were a director and you're in like a play, they would set like the backstory before you spoke, right? And that's your tone. Like, what's your backstory? And so when a lot of agents are on here and their backstory is, and it's in their mind, like, man, I spent a whole lot of money on these leads, and you know, I really need to make a sale or I'm going to go broke. There's like neediness in your tone, and you're approaching it the wrong way because you're caring too much about, you know, how the client's going to think of you, how you react. You're needy, you're losing the battle. And so the tonality always has to be that, you know, I don't care if I get a yes or no, but you're an idiot if you don't buy this policy. like it's that tonality. Like, you can't care about the yes or no, but when you're a new agent, you're like, man, I really care about these no's. You just have to let go of those no's and not care about them, but almost feel like it's really dumb if you don't buy a policy. So I don't know how you get to that tone. If you need to write down like some phrases and like staple it to your bulletin board or whatever the case may be, but you have to realize it's a numbers game. and there is going to be no's. And through those no's, you're going to find some yeses, but you got to stop caring about the sale. And what happens is, for people like us, Matt, that have our bank accounts are stacked and we've been doing it for a while, we're definitely in that zone now. We got so used to the no's and the yeses that we're approaching everybody the same, and we're not reacting to rebuttals, or it doesn't phase us anymore because we took in so much action, right? So you just have to have that kind of right tone. I mean, if I were to say hi to you, I could say like excited, like hi, and you're like, oh, this guy's excited, right? Or I could say hi, and then you're like, oh, this guy might be a little pissed off, right? It's exactly the same word, but my tonality's changed. And it's kind of interesting when we speak that there's so much other language behind the tonality we speak. And really, I believe like in sales, 90% of it's your tone, not the words. And what happens with new agents is 100% of the time we're worried about this certain script or this certain word track. It's like, if you just get it right in your mind that, hey, I believe in insurance, you're a dummy if you don't buy this. That's the right tone. I don't care if you say, no, it's not going to hurt me. It doesn't hurt the insurance company, but your family's really screwed. That's the tone you have to be in, right? You got to really, truly believe in the product and make them know that they're kind of dumb if they don't buy it, right? And you're approaching that with like curiosity, right? You're going to ask really, really curious questions, right? If someone's like, yeah, I need to think about it, you need to approach it like, oh, I totally get it. You need to think about it. You need to approach it about it with curiosity. Like, why is this guy being an idiot, right? So you're like, okay, can you help me understand why is it you need to think about protecting your family? I just don't ever get that, right? Can you help me understand it? You got to approach it with some curiosity. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. I think that's such a big thing that people don't think about. They get on the phone and they're just talking and they just don't pay attention to their tonality. And I know another thing with telesales, obviously they could just hang up on you at any time. Like, do you have a process or some type of system that increases or improves your show rate? And like, how do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, most people, if you're dialing a CRM lead, because it's generated on the internet, it's better to do a one call close. And your approach is really exactly the same. It's just you're never asking them if it's the right time to talk. You're always assumptive that this is the right time to talk. So you never want to break character. It's just like, hey, I'm getting back to you on that life insurance information you requested. Got to verify some information real quick. Hey, grab a pen and paper. We're going to take care of this right now. So you're just very assumptive the whole way through in a one call close. But if you're setting appointments, which is what I do, it's just a reminder text in the morning. I mean, it sounds silly, but I tried Calendly, email reminders, all sorts of things. But a personal text is just something simple like, hey, this is Ryan, just reminding you about our mortgage protection appointment or life insurance appointment, final expense appointment. Expect a call from this number between 2 and 3. And that seemed to make my no-show rates go down, right? Probably my no-show rates right now about 20% or so. Also, you never want to book any appointments past 48 hours. So it's just kind of like the same thing as face-to-face. If they're not available in that 48-hour window, if you're dialing on Monday and it's you can't do Tuesday, Wednesday, then you're saying, hey, we'll follow up with you on Thursday. I don't have any other availability the rest of the week. We'll see if anything else opens up. But we'll have to get back to you on Thursday, right? So don't book past that point. Other than that, just got to keep calling them if you get no-shows, and a lot of them still answer and book some more appointments,
And like that totally makes sense. And I think with with follow-up and stuff like that, we have new programs like Ringy and we have Calendly. Do you use any system to like follow up for people that you couldn't get a hold of that maybe rescheduled or no-showed you?
Yeah, I mean, most of my leads I print out. And so I'm just writing, I kind of have a binder, and then I'll put stuff that's like a no-show or a reschedule. And I always give priority first to the new fresh leads. And then whatever new time slots are available, then I'll go to my reschedules first because they reschedule on me. And then my no-shows last to fill in the blanks. Because what I noticed is once you get one no-show from somebody, they kind of continue to no-show you over and over again, thinking it's okay. But, I also do a really good job of once I do get no-show, and if they want to schedule again, I go, hey, this is the last time we can schedule with you because we're too busy. And every time you don't show up to an appointment, you take it away from a family that actually needs protection and cares about their family. So I'll do this one time for you, but you definitely have to be there. Can you promise me you'll be there? Because I don't want to schedule you if you're going to no show again. Okay. So, give me a true answer on that. Right. So I'm really making sure they feel guilty for it. And sometimes I make it like I'm doing a favor. I'm really not even supposed to schedule you guys anymore because, we're so busy and we're kind of backed up, but I'll do you a favor. If you can promise you're actually going to be here this time, we'll go ahead and get you on the books again.
That's awesome. I hope everybody wrote that down. I think where you come from too, it's like I don't need this. And it just gives a certain response versus if you have commission breath and you're trying to make this sell and you're trying to cater to them. That response that you give is almost like if you don't want to do it, just let me know because I got other people I could sit down with. I'm busy.
Yeah, and that's good. And that's going to be coming from, it's kind of funny is you look at all the people successful, like yourself, Matt, and any of the guys that are on these podcasts, there's one thing they have in common. They spend a lot of money on leads. And so when you have so many leads, that takes away your neediness because you're like, I don't care. I got more leads to call. Right. And you have to be in that state of mind of like, I don't need you. You need me. I got lots of clients to call. And you're naturally going to be in that state if you're investing more on leads, right? It naturally takes away that neediness because you have so many other chances to help out more families and protect them.
Absolutely. And now what states are you focused on right now?
For me, I'm on the West Coast. So I actually like the East Coast just for the time zone difference. I never really been an early riser. I don't know. I always started my days even in the field was I started at 11 just to avoid like the rush hour traffic. And wherever I was going, I want to stay over there until the rush hour traffic died before I was coming back. So I always like evening appointments during the week. And, the prime times that was when people are off work, from like 5 to 9. So if I'm doing East Coast, 9 o'clock there is 6 o'clock here. It's kind of nice. I'm getting done by like 6:30. And then I got more time to work on building the agency and talking to my agents and helping those guys out.
It's interesting. I talk with a lot of agents, even for myself, I experience it. I don't know what your experience is, but have you noticed like different states having different culture, like as far as talking with people, how they treat you, the interaction? Have you noticed that yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. I wish there was like a magical state that was just better than others, but what I've noticed, I mean, every state's going to have, your poor folks, every state's going to have your paranoid, conspiracy theory type people that think everyone's out to get them, so I just don't focus on that too much at all anymore. I'm definitely a big like statistics guy. And I remember early on, I was like, there's gotta be a way to make this easier. I'm going to track like if this was a hard book and then if it was like a medium book or an easy book and then see if there was any correlation. Like when I got to out to them face to face, like if the hard book was going to be a hard close or an easy close, there was no correlation. Some of like the hardest ones of book ever, they're the biggest jerks on the phone were like the easiest people face to face. And some of the easiest face to face were the hardest when I was actually talking to them. And same thing I think goes with states. It's like, it's all random, man. You just got to work through the numbers. It's not what you do for the day. It's not what you do for the week. It's your month that counts, right? You might have a bad first 2 weeks and then a killer last 2 weeks. Right. I've had 8 in a row where I don't close. And then the last 2 are just huge ones. And then I've had the same thing happen where I have 2 big ones and then I don't close the rest of them the rest of the week. So as long as you're buying leads and being consistent with your schedule, which is the only key, and making those rings and focusing really, the only statistic that you should be focusing on ever is counting how many sends you're pushing on your phone a day. So set your goal. If it's 100 sends, 200 sends, 300 sends, the pros are doing 400 sends a day. Naturally, the numbers are going to work itself out. And that's really the only thing you should be focusing on. And then just taking action to get those sends. And then naturally, you're going to get better by doing that. And you're going to want to reach out and watch training because if you're doing 300 sends a day, naturally, you're going to want to show up to training, reach out to your mentor because you don't want to just keep doing 300 sends and not making sales. So to focus on how many sends you're doing, how many rings you're doing, or how many dials you're doing. And that's, I think, the key to it and just taking action.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've noticed a lot of agents where they struggle, but then you ask them how many sends or rings or dials that you do, they don't have the number. They don't even keep track. And so, they just leave it up to emotion as far as how they're doing. And that could be a travesty. I know one of the things when I first saw your podcast, when I think it was on Grady's podcast, you talked about your schedule. And I was like, how does he do all that? And he works on those days because you have such a condensed schedule. But it works for you. Obviously, if you could do 60 families, help 60 families with a condensed schedule, it could be done. Can you talk about your schedule? Like what days you work? How do you make that work?
Yeah. I have staff. And so some staff helps me out dialing. Sometimes that helps out. I don't recommend if you're a new agent that you ever hire anyone to dial. You need to be good at dialing yourself in order to train a staff member to be good at dialing. And it takes work and they're never going to be as good as you because they're not investing their money in the leads as you. But once you've proven you've gotten yourself up to at least 20 families protected a month, then maybe you can start spending some extra money on a dialer, and then find someone you can pay for 40 hours a week, as a full-time staff to do some of those things like dialing. But my schedule, I've always noticed that whenever I have like random appointments all over the place and let the client control the schedule, I always do worse because I'm just so spread out. Versus if always back in the field back in the day, I always try to get as many appointments as I can in one day because it creates a rhythm. If you don't close one, you learn from that mistake, either by reaching out to your mentor or maybe have some experience and you realize what you did wrong. You get kind of pissed off about it. And you're like, all right, man, I'm not doing that again. I'm gonna get this next one. And then you close that next one. Now your confidence is up. You're not really caring so much about making a sale or not. And now you're in the right zone. That's the perspective or the scene you need to be in. It's not caring about the sale. And you're closing the next one. So whenever you can condense your appointments down to as many as possible in one day, I've always had bigger weeks than having like, 2 on Tuesday and 2 over here, and then 1 on Saturday. It's too spread out to get in the zone. So my schedule right now is I just run from 11 to 6. Though I don't do any appointments that are not in that window. And then every single appointment, I do 30-minute intervals for times for booking appointments. This way, in case I have a no-show, and I give an hour call window. So I'd say, hey, your appointment's at 2:00 Eastern, expect to receive a call between 2 and 3. We have that hour window because we're so busy and backed up that we're trying to help as many families as possible. And we never know if a call is going to go short or long, just depends on how many policies they get that day. So we'll try to get you right at 2, give us an hour window just in case. And then if I get a no-show, it's all good. I'm just moving on to the next, And so that really helps me out. And I do that on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday. And that frees up the rest of my week to kind of work on the agency and building.
Wow, that sounds like an awesome schedule. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. You condense all the appointments down. How many you fit in, like usually on a solid day, like a full day? How many appointments
you could fit just in that window with the 30-minute intervals? I mean, you're looking at 14 a day. So you could do a total of, would that be 28 plus 14, like 30, something close to 40 appointments. But I generally try to focus on getting to 30 appointments a week still. And that will guarantee me at least 20 sits, and then a guarantee 50% close. I'm hitting at least 10 families protected a week, right? So it's just all in the numbers. Guys, the one things you need to focus on is, again, how many sends are you pushing on your phone a day? Set that goal, and you do not quit till you get to that send number. If it's small at first, that's fine, and then keep upping it, but make sure you have a goal in mind. And the second thing your goal needs to be is how many appointments you set. It's strictly a numbers game, and the people that do that, those are the guys that are winning. The people that don't have those 2 goals set in their mind, those are the people that are losing. It's really that simple. And if you need to buy more leads, the nice thing is, when I first started, we didn't have any control of the leads. You couldn't just log into a CRM and buy leads instantly. That's incredible, right? So if your goal was to get to this many appointments every week, and you guys should all have a goal, then you can just log in the CRM right away, buy some more leads, and make sure you hit that goal. And that's really all it comes down to.
That's one of the things I love about the business is if you have a problem in the business, it's so easy to identify what area that you're having trouble in, and you're not getting enough leads, you're not setting enough appointments, or you're not calling enough and setting those appointments. And I think that's the fun part of the business. It can be so simple, right? But
yeah, I think that's the thing, is that just a lot of people come into this and they just overthink it. They're overthinking way too much. They're focusing on the things that their mentor tells them not to focus on, right? They're focusing too much on, I got to have the right script or the right word track. It's like, no, the main thing is you got to focus on your sends. You got to focus on your appointment goals. That's it. Then naturally it's going to come through action, by just doing is the best teacher. Honestly, I didn't have YouTube videos or scripts or anything when I started. I just had the belief that this guy can do it, and the humbleness to go, if I'm not doing it, it's my fault and no one else's, because this is proof this guy can do it. And so all I got to do is just keep putting in the work, asking questions, keep studying, keep practicing my scripts. And eventually it's going to click because this guy is no special. He just worked harder than me, right? Or he put more hours in me or put more rings in than me, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, man. Man, time goes by so fast. I wish I could keep you on for another hour. We can go through so many other things. Unfortunately, we can't. I want to respect everybody's time. But one last thing, Ryan, if you could go back, because I really feel like you led the way. I mean, you had the courage to be able to be one of the first to lead the way in the telesales, and you're going into uncharted territory as far as, FFL and doing some things that people didn't do at the time. But if you could go back and talk to yourself now, just knowing what you know, in that first month of you going through telesales, what would be like a couple of pointers that you would tell yourself if you could go back and reflecting on what you've done over the few months?
I think the reason why I wasn't closing at first was I just didn't believe it could be done. And so I guess the first step that you have to do when you're a new agent is believe in yourself and know it's possible. I mean, there's proof everywhere you look that it's possible, right? That there's people killing out the gate, but a lot of us have self-doubt. We put it in our minds, we make excuses for it, right? Oh, I feel sick today. Oh, this happened in my life. Oh, this bad thing. We all have bad stuff that happens constantly. That's life. It's not going to slow down. So just believe in yourself, know it's possible, get your confidence up, know that no's are okay, right? No's are all right. Don't let them hurt you, and just keep working. Eventually it's going to click. I figured out telesales the exact same way I figured out face-to-face. There was no training on it. It just was through repetition and getting through it and being okay and keep practicing. Eventually I started to be more natural on the phone, wasn't nervous, was like, okay, this is okay to talk to someone on the phone, not face-to-face. And I let go. And then all of a sudden people are like, this guy seems pretty confident. I can trust him, right? And so you have to have that confidence on the phone because it's just your voice. And that tonality is so key. Stop worrying about the sale, worry about the product, believe in it, know it's important to have, and defend it. And with curiosity, can you help me understand why you don't care about your wife? What would happen if you were dead, yesterday, or, yesterday you weren't here? How's that going to affect her today? What would you want to happen? So you're totally okay with her struggling, right? So you got to engage with a lot of curiosity and defend the product, which is a no-brainer. And anybody should be taking 3% of their monthly income and hedging their bets with a backup plan to make sure, regardless if they live forever or if they die, either way, their family's okay. It's a no-brainer thing that you have to get behind, and that's all we're selling. It's a no-brainer product. Until you believe in it, they're going to read it on your tonality that you're just there and hungry for money. You got to get rid of that.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for your time, man. I know you're busy. Thank you for spending the time with the team. Guys, if you guys saw some value, put a double R into the chat, and definitely go search out FFL Rush on YouTube. Ryan has a lot of amazing training on YouTube, and feel free to reach out to him and ask for help. Thanks, Ryan. I'm here to
help everybody. We're all one team, guys. Just keep pushing, man. Action is the key. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.